Motorcycle dealerships pretty much suck these days. I picked up this 2023 Honda Grom back in April, and I'll share my experience of Honda of Melbourne, what I paid for this thing, and the whole process of having to deal with the salespeople there. I tried trading in my Can-Am Ryker locally at the Honda Kawasaki dealership near me. Unfortunately, I couldn't put a deal together. It didn't seem like they had any interest in taking in the Ryker as trade, and the sales manager there was a little off-putting, but that'll be a whole total different video. So I drove up to Honda of Melbourne, about an hour and a half away, to see if I could trade in the Ryker. I wanted to get out of the Ryker, so at this point a mini bike seemed like the perfect bike for me, just because I knew I could probably break even. I knew by going to a big dealership that I'd be able to trade out of it. I had visited Honda of Melbourne months prior, so I kind of was familiar with the dealership. I had met a salesperson named Rob on the first visit. He kind of walked me around a little bit, asked me all the right questions. He was being a salesperson. You know, it got to the point where it's like he realized I wasn't gonna buy nothing that day. He must just kind of let me do what I had to do. I visited this time. I recognized the guy Rob, kind of approached him, let him know like, hey, I have my Can-Am Ryker here. I'm thinking of trading out of this thing, see if I could get into a little mini bike. Walked over by the Honda Groms, kind of looked at the Monkey, looked at a couple other things, but I decided, hey, my best choice would be the Honda Grom. He grabbed his team, went outside, looked at the Can-Am Ryker. Then we're gonna put some numbers together as far as like trading value and see where we end up at. He comes back to the desk with an up sheet. Up sheet pretty much just says what I would have to pay out of pocket plus my trade-in, but there was no breakdown of numbers, where at that point I questioned like, hey, can I see the breakdown of all the numbers? And he just pretty much threw himself back on the seat and was like, well, you didn't ask me that. And his whole demeanor changed. And I'm like, holy shit, what's going on here? I'm like, well, I'm asking you now. Once I questioned like where were the numbers, his tone pretty much changed, and my tone pretty much changed at that point too. I even questioned his demeanor, like, hey man, like, what's going on? Like, you seemed like so cool 5 minutes ago, and now I'm asking you to see the breakdown of the numbers, and you seem like you're like put off by me asking the details. I just didn't understand that. He brought back on that paper was pretty much, I give him over 500 bucks and the Can-Am Ryker for me to take a $3,500 Honda Grom out of there. I had no plans of paying $500 and something and leaving the Ryker. I knew that I can get pretty close an even swap if I wanted to. I had been at another dealership already, so I knew what kind of deal I could put together. I did know that I wanted to dump the Can-Am Ryker because I just didn't want to put any more money into it. It was going to need a whole bunch of other stuff coming up, and I just didn't want to deal with it. So I really wanted to work that deal as much as I could. He finally just gave up and was like, come on, walk with me. He took me to a sales office. He didn't even want to deal with me anymore. In that office there was a general manager and a sales manager, both named Tony and Tony. I knew what the conversation was gonna be like in there. It's pretty much just telling me like how they do their process, blah blah blah, and all that BS, but whatever. I was like, well, I need to see the breakdown of the numbers. Eventually one of the Tonys gave me a sheet, broke it down for me, and I questioned all the numbers. I'm like, it was April 29th I bought this thing. I know the MSRP is not 3508. They just wanted to pretty much get everything that they could out of me on my trade-in value, which is all right. You know what, I was willing to do that. It's just when they inflated certain things, like the freight and destination, they charged me $500, and on the Honda website it's $300. So I sent Honda an email regarding that. Their email response was, thank you for submitting your web form to American Honda Powersports Customers Relations. We apologize for any difficulty you experienced with Honda of Melbourne dealer. Because our dealers are independently owned and operated, we have limited control of any upcharges they may decide to add. And it sucks because if their website says that their destination is X amount, we should be able to just pay that, not allow the dealership to do that. So the price of the Grom was $35,0815. The freight and destination was $500. The prep was $499.47. $500 to prep this thing. Crazy. There's no freaking way. The processing and notarization, their doc was $360.99. Subtotal was $48.74. My trade allowance was $4,900, so that I was only taxed on $25.89. Florida sales tax was $390. Registration was $130.85. I still had a credit of $25.89. My total due was going to be $108.86. That's after I kind of negotiated the $500 and something dollars. Hopefully you got something informative out of this video. If anything, I'll catch you on the next ride. Later.